I don't think any two-word phrase in medicine has caused more fear than slipped disc. It just creates this horrible image in your head of your spine basically falling apart. But what if I told you that whole idea is a complete myth? Today, we're going to tear down that myth and show you what's really going on. And honestly, it's a much more hopeful and fascinating story about just how strong your back really is. Okay, let's get right to it. On the left, that's the myth we all hear, right? This idea that a disc can just slide out of place, almost like a hockey puck on ice. It's a scary thought, but it's just wrong. The reality, over on the right, is that the disc is completely anchored in place. What's actually happening is something called a herniation. Think of it less like a slip and more like a leak. So let's dig into the why. Why is it impossible for a disc to just slip out? Well, it's because your spine isn't some fragile tower of blocks. It is an unbelievably strong and tightly interconnected structure. So let's start with the big picture. You've got all these different sections of your spine, from the cervical up in your neck all the way down to the lumbar in your low back. But the main thing to get here is that this is not a wobbly tower. It's a single, powerful, unified column. Now, let's zoom in on just one section. Those discs, the cushions, they sit right between the bony parts, the vertebrae. But they aren't just floating around in there. They are literally woven into the very fabric of the spine. And this is so important. And here's the secret sauce, something called Sharpie's fibers. These things are basically biological superglue. They're these incredibly strong collagen fibers that fuse the disc to the bone above it and the bone below it. Because of these fibers, it is anatomically impossible for a disc to just slip out of place. It just can't happen. So if it's not slipping, what is going on? Well, think of a disc like a jelly donut. Seriously, it has this tough, fibrous outer wall, that's the annulus fibrosus, and a soft, gel-like center, the nucleus pulposus. A herniation is when you get a little tear in that tough outer wall, and some of that jelly from the inside leaks out. See, it's a leak, not a slip. And knowing it's a leak is so critical, because that completely changes our understanding of where the pain is coming from. It's not what most people think. It's way more complex than just a simple pinch. A herniation can cause pain in two totally different ways. Yeah, on one hand, you've got the mechanical compression. That's the leaked material physically pushing on a nerve. But that's only half the story. The other side of it, and often the bigger problem, is chemical pain, which is all about inflammation. Let's break that down. The pinch is what we all imagine, but that jelly inside the disc, it's highly acidic. When it leaks out and touches a nerve root, it causes what's basically a chemical burn. And that chemical irritation is often the real source of that intense searing pain. This is also the reason why someone's pain level can feel totally off the charts, even if the herniation looks pretty small on an MRI. It's the burn, not just the pinch. All right, now for what I think is the most hopeful, most empowering part of this entire story. Your body actually has this incredible built-in system for dealing with this exact problem. Which leads to the big question, right? If that nasty inflammatory gel leaks out, is it just stuck there forever, causing problems? Well, the answer, thank goodness, is a resounding no. So here's what happens. It's amazing. Your body sees that leaked gel and goes, whoa, that's not supposed to be here. It recognizes it as a foreign substance. And that triggers your immune system to launch a cleanup mission. It sends in these specialized cells called macrophages. These guys are literally the garbage collectors of your body. They show up on the scene and start to eat and dissolve all that leaked material. And you can see the whole process right here. It starts with that painful, acute herniation. But then, look what happens. The immune system kicks into gear. That's the cleanup crew, the macrophages, swarming the area to do their job. And the result? Something called spontaneous resorption. The body literally cleans up its own mess and reabsorbs the leaked gunk, taking all that pressure and chemical irritation off the nerve. And here is the part that is just gonna blow your mind, because it sounds completely backward. You'd think a bigger herniation is always worse, right? Well, not necessarily. The science actually shows that larger herniations often heal faster and more completely. Why? Think about it. A bigger leak is a bigger emergency signal to your body. It triggers a much bigger, more aggressive immune response. It's like sending in the entire fleet of garbage trucks instead of just one. And listen, this isn't some rare miracle. This is your body's standard operating procedure. Studies show that a massive 66%, that's 2/3, of disc herniations heal all on their own through this incredible natural process. Your body is literally designed to fix this. So this brings us to one last really crucial point. How do we make sense of those scary-looking MRI reports that talk about things like degeneration or bulges? We have to put them in the right context. Check this out. A huge study scanned the backs of people with absolutely zero back pain, and what they found was just stunning. 37% of perfectly healthy, pain-free 20-year-olds already had so-called disc degeneration on their MRI scans. And it just goes up from there. By the time you get to age 50, a full 80% of people with no pain at all show that same degeneration. What's the takeaway? These findings are often just the normal signs of aging. They're like the gray hair or wrinkles of the spine. They're signs of a life well lived, not necessarily a reason for your pain. So, what's the bottom line here? Look, your pain is absolutely real, and it needs to be addressed. But let's try to reframe it. Think of your pain as a check engine light, not a damage gauge. It's just a signal from your body to pay attention, to figure out what's going on. It is not a final verdict that the engine has exploded. Your spine is strong, it's resilient, and as we just saw, it has an absolutely profound ability to heal itself.